Be honest with me. When the dentist asks, "Are you flossing?" do you do the little guilty pause before you say, "Yeah, mostly"? Yeah, me too. For years, flossing is the health habit everyone skips and nobody feels great about. But here's what changed my mind completely. Once I understood what flossing actually does and what skipping it actually causes, I realized brushing alone is leaving a huge chunk of my mouth totally uncleaned. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why flossing matters, way more than you think, and make it almost impossible to skip again. Let's get into it.
Here's the core problem in one sentence. Your toothbrush physically cannot reach between your teeth. No matter how good your brushing is, those bristles can't get into the tight contact points where two teeth touch. And that's not some tiny sliver. It's roughly a third of each tooth's total surface that your brush never touches. So if you only brush, you're leaving about a third of every tooth dirty every single day. Flossing is the only everyday tool that cleans that hidden third. Stick around because I'll also clear up the flossing is useless headline that confused everyone a few years back.
So what's living in those gaps you never clean? Plaque, that sticky bacterial film, builds up between your teeth just like it does everywhere else, except here it sits completely undisturbed. It feeds on trapped food particles and pumps out acid right against two tooth surfaces at once, in a spot you literally cannot reach with a brush. This is exactly why so many cavities start between the teeth. Dentists see it constantly, and they're sneaky because you can't even see them. They only show up on x-rays. So that surprise cavity between two teeth, that's almost always a flossing gap, literally.
But cavities are only half the story, and honestly, the gum side might matter more. That plaque between your teeth doesn't just sit on the enamel, it creeps down to the gum line and just below it, into the low crevice where the gum meets the tooth. Brushing can't clean down there between teeth, but floss can. When that plaque is left alone, it inflames the gums. That's gingivitis, the bleeding, puffy gum stage. And if it hardens into tartar and keeps going, it becomes periodontitis, which destroys the bone holding your teeth in and is the leading cause of adult tooth loss. Flossing is one of your only weapons against the disease that makes people lose teeth. That reframes it a bit, isn't it?
Here's a more immediate, less scary reason that honestly motivates people more day to day. Bad breath. Those food particles wedged between your teeth literally rot, and bacteria break them down into stinky sulfur compounds. You can brush, scrape your tongue, gargle mouthwash, and still have lingering bad breath if you've got rotting debris stuck between your teeth that none of that reaches. Floss it out and a whole source of odor just disappears. Pull the floss out once and smell it, and you'll never need convincing again. Gross, but effective motivation.
Now, let's tackle that headline that made everyone gleefully throw out their floss a few years back. Flossing doesn't work. That came from a review pointing out that the long-term clinical studies on flossing were low quality, short, and hard to run well. And that's a fair criticism of the studies. But, crucial but, we don't have great long-term trials is not the same as it doesn't work. Absence of strong proof isn't proof of absence. We have a hard time running perfect decades-long flossing trials because, shocker, it's tough to make people floss consistently for years and track them. Meanwhile, the mechanism is rock solid. Plaque between teeth causes decay and gum disease, and floss is what removes it. Dentists who look in mouths every day are nearly unanimous. The people who floss have visibly healthier gums. The useless headline was a misreading of a study limitation. Okay, let's make sure you're doing it effectively because bad flossing barely helps. Use a decent length of floss, wind most around your fingers. Gently, slide it between two teeth. Don't snap it down hard into your gums. That hurts and can cut them. Here's the key move people miss. Curve the floss into a C shape against the side of one tooth and gently slide it up and down, hugging the tooth, including just under the gum line. Then, curve it the other way to clean the neighboring tooth, so each gap gets two surfaces cleaned. Use a fresh section as you move along, so you're not just shuffling bacteria around. Slow and gentle beats fast and aggressive. And if you hate string floss, you have zero excuse because there are options. Floss picks are quick and one-handed, great for getting started or for on the go. A water flosser, those little pressurized water jet devices, is fantastic, especially if you have braces, bridges, or you just find string floss fiddly. And a lot of people who can't floss stick with one of these easily. Interdental brushes, little tiny bottle brushes, work great for bigger gaps. The single best flossing method is the one you'll actually do every day. Don't let perfect be the enemy of done. How often? Once a day is the target, and the best time is at night before bed, so you go to sleep with clean gaps instead of letting trapped food ferment for 8 hours while your saliva's low.
Order doesn't hugely matter, but a lot of dentists like floss then brush so the fluoride can reach the freshly cleaned gaps. And quick reassurance, if your gums bleed the first week you start flossing, that's not a reason to stop. It's actually a sign of existing inflammation, and it usually settles down within a week or two of consistent flossing as your gums get healthier.
Let's make sure the flossing you do actually counts, because there are a few really common mistakes that turn good intentions into wasted effort. Mistake 1, snapping the floss straight down hard between your teeth. That pops it into your gums and can cut and damage them, which is also why some people's gums hurt and they decide flossing is bad for them, when really it's the technique. Ease it down gently with a back and forth motion through the tight contact point. Mistake 2, just sawing the floss straight up and down in the gap without hugging the tooth. You want to curve it into that C shape against the side of each tooth so it actually wipes the surface and dips slightly under the gum line where the plaque hides. Mistake 3, using the same dirty inch of floss across your whole mouth, which basically shuttles bacteria from one gap to the next. Instead, advance to a fresh section as you go. Mistake 4, only flossing when you can feel something stuck. Flossing is about removing the invisible plaque film, not just dislodging the obvious popcorn hole. And mistake 5, giving up after 2 days because your gums bled. That early bleeding is a sign of existing inflammation, and for most people it calms down within 1 to 2 weeks of consistent daily flossing as the gums get healthier. Slow, gentle, hug each tooth, fresh section, every day. That's the whole game.
Now, the showdown everyone asks about, water flosser versus regular string floss. Which is better? Real answer, the best one is the one you'll actually use every single day. Consistency beats theoretical perfection. That said, here's how they compare. String floss is cheap, portable, and great at scraping the flat surfaces between teeth where they touch. It physically wipes plaque off the tooth. A water flosser shoots a pulsing jet of water that flushes out food and bacteria. And it's fantastic in specific situations. If you have braces, bridges, implants, or permanent retainers that string floss snags on, if you have gum pockets where flushing below the gum line helps, or simply if you find string floss so fiddly and annoying that you skip it, in which case a water flosser you'll actually use crushes a string floss you won't. The main knock on water flossers is that the jet flushes debris but doesn't scrape the tooth surface quite as directly as string does. So some people use both. String to wipe the surfaces, water flosser to flush everything out. For most people, either one, done daily, is a massive upgrade over the nothing they're currently doing. Don't overthink the gear. Pick whichever removes the friction for you and just do it consistently, ideally at night. 2 practical notes to finish. First, if you have braces, a permanent retainer, bridges, or implants, regular string floss is a genuine pain to thread, and that's exactly the situation where the tools earn their keep. Floss threaders, the little stiff-tipped flossers made for braces, and especially water flossers, which flush around all that hardware easily. So you've got no excuse to skip the gaps just because there's metal in the way. Second, and maybe most important, how do you make flossing actually stick when it's the habit everyone abandons by February? Anchor it to something you already do every single night, without fail. Brushing. So floss becomes the automatic step right before. Keep the floss or the picks somewhere you literally cannot miss them, on the counter, not in a drawer. Start absurdly small, even just committing to floss while you watch one video, because a tiny habit you actually do beats a perfect routine you quit. And ride out that first week or 2 of gum bleeding, knowing it almost always settles as your gums get healthier. Make it frictionless and automatic, and it stops being a chore you dread and becomes a thing you just do. Bottom line, brushing cleans maybe 2/3 of each tooth and completely skips the tight gaps between them. And that skipped third is exactly where surprise cavities, gum disease, and bad breath love to start. Flossing isn't an optional extra credit habit. It's the other half of actually cleaning your mouth. Start with just once a day, at night. Pick whatever tool removes the friction for you, string, picks, or a water flosser, and ride out the first week or 2 of any gum bleeding, which almost always settles as your gums get healthier. Give it 14 honest days, and your gums will visibly change. It's the most skipped, most guilt-inducing habit in dental care, and also one of the highest payoff. So tonight's the night to start.
So here's the bottom line. Brushing cleans 2/3 of your teeth and skips the rest. And that skipped third is exactly where surprise cavities, gum disease, and bad breath love to start. Flossing isn't an optional bonus. It's the other half of cleaning your mouth. Start with just once a day, at night. Pick whatever tool you'll actually use, and your gums will literally thank you within 2 weeks. Try it for 14 days and tell me in the comments if you notice a difference. I bet you will. Next, watch my breakdown of how gum disease sneaks up on you. Flosso is the mean defense. Hit subscribe, go floss tonight, and I'll see you next time.